Hello everyone. This is a feedback about the ideation deck that all of you have submitted. The industry mentors have gone through your decks and they have broadly given a feedback about their observations. And at our end, we have tried to consolidate that feedback. And here is my summary of that feedback. The points that I'm going to make here may help you in revising your deck and resubmitting it. Obviously, you have to check what is valid for your specific deck. This is a generic feedback. Some of it will certainly be helpful for your improvement. Now, in terms of the ideation deck, typically you had problem statements, you had stakeholders related slide, you had a slide on statistics, you had a slide on current scenario or existing solution, uh, you had a slide on competition, and a slide on solution approach, and finally a slide on choice of technology. So what I'll do is probably go through one slide at a time and share with you the detailed perspective that the mentors have shared. So to start with, let us start with the problem statement itself. The problem catalog that has been given on Talent Farm platform is slightly broader in nature. I would look at that as a problem area rather than a specific problem statement. So when you pick a problem statement from the Talent Farm catalog, I think it is very important for you to break it down into a specific problem that you want to solve. For example, there could be a problem statement around disaster management. Now, disaster management can be for various kinds of disasters. It could be a disaster like COVID, it could be a disaster like earthquake, it could be some other kind of disaster. Obviously, each of these disasters needs a very focused approach in terms of understanding the problem, in terms of understanding the solution or building the solution. So that is where every topic that you see on the Talent Farm catalog should be looked as a broad area, and you should probably be able to identify a very specific thing which you are interested in solving. And of course, when you're describing the problem statement, ensure you're describing it with the stakeholders, because the problem statement is not in isolation. There are multiple ways of looking at that problem statement. It is very important that people should know from whose point of view are you trying to solve the problem? Who are your primary stakeholders, right? And of course, it helps if to read extensively about the problem domain. You need to have as much understanding of the problem domain as possible. And it also helps if you can interact with the relevant stakeholders, because you will learn from them how relevant the problem is, what are the existing solutions, why some of the existing solutions are not working, and you can also validate your solution. They will tell you what is feasible, what is not feasible, what are the broad level challenges in that domain. Uh, Obviously, when you write your solution in competition, they should be relevant and consistent to the problem statement you're mentioning here. So, in summary, your problem statement should be crisp, should be very specific, and going forward, your solution and everything that you write should be relevant to the problem statement that you mentioned here. Then we come to the statistics. It is very important again to have the statistics which are relevant to the specific problem statement. It cannot be generic. It cannot be very broad about that problem area. For example, if you're solving a problem related to diagnostics for, let's say, cancer treatment, then the statistics have to be very specific to that. It cannot be at a generic level of healthcare. It cannot be at a generic level of anything in diagnostics, right? And then it makes a lot of sense to give the specific URL from where you have collected the statistics, so that people can check for themselves that the statistics are valid. Ensure that you're collecting the statistics from relevant and credible sources. You should also ensure that when you're talking about the statistics, they cover specific geographies. For example, if you are building a solution, I think it makes sense to talk about statistics which are relevant to your area, or at least at an India level, and then at a global level, rather than talking about geography of Africa, or statistics which are relevant to geography of Australia, or some other thing. That may not be very relevant. And statistics should also be from a point of view of primary stakeholders for whom you have created this problem statement or for whom you are solving this problem statement, right? There are always multiple stakeholders. For example, in healthcare, government could be a stakeholder, an insurance company could be a stakeholder, patient is a stakeholder, doctor is a stakeholder, hospital is a stakeholder. So if you're trying to solve the problem of a patient, then the statistics should be relevant from a patient point of view. If patient and government are the primary stakeholders in your problem statement, then the statistics should be relevant to them, right? So I think it's very important that it should be consistent. Moving forward, in terms of stakeholders, again, in any problem domain, there are multiple stakeholders. But who are the stakeholders who are specific to your problem statement, right? Talk about them. And like I keep repeating myself, it is going to be very important if you get a chance to interact with these stakeholders. Put some effort, take help from your friends, take help from us, take help from your college to get in touch with relevant stakeholders. The more you talk to stakeholders, the more your understanding of the problem, the more your understanding and validation of your solution. I think in terms of existing solutions, it is pretty straightforward. You should probably list out some of the prominent ways in which the problem is being solved today. It could be tech enabled, it could be non-tech enabled. If your solution is with AI, the existing solutions that you want to highlight here could be solutions which are using AI or even which are not using AI. So some prominent solutions in the way that the problem is being solved today. This is a very important slide about the solution that you're proposing. I think, again, uh, default, every slide, the common advice is it should be relevant, it should be specific, it should be consistent. So you have to go through your presentation regularly, continuously, couple of times to see that the problem statement that you have defined, the stakeholders that you have defined, the statistics you have defined, the solution that you're talking about, all are consistent, all are very, very specific, and all are very, very relevant. Another observation is that your solution should be feasible from a technology point of view and from a time point of view, because you will probably be spending a limited finite time in building these solutions. The expectation at the end of this cycle is you have a working solution, you have a working prototype, and obviously that needs building some skill set also. It also means that this is the first time you're going to probably solve a problem of this nature using these technologies. So it is always advisable not to overcommit. If you have time, you can always keep enhancing your solution, but there's no point in overcommitting at this point of time. Also, when you're presenting the solution, similar to how you presented the problem, present it from a stakeholder's point of view. So if the problem is for stakeholders, how are you solving the problem for those stakeholders? And then, of course, we always want to see what is the uniqueness about your solution. So please bring out that uniqueness. Don't have to add too many features. No one is going to get impressed by the number of features that you have in your solution. I think it should be focused on your stakeholders. It should also be uh, relevant, and there should be something unique about it. In addition to writing a high level direction in terms of what you're going to solve and how you're solving or what is your solution approach, it helps in giving a functional diagram with stakeholders and showing the flow of your solution, mark it with some numbers. Is it unidirectional or bidirectional between those stakeholders? And then explain it. What is it that your stakeholders are involved and how does the flow of your solution happens? When it comes to competition, there is a general approach or a general tendency to show your competition is in poor light. For example, most of you have listed out competition which doesn't use technology, which doesn't use AI. It's like saying that everyone else is doing it in a manual way and we are using AI for doing it. That may not be the best idea. I think it is very important to ensure that you show competition in good light. And when you're showing competition, don't randomly pick anyone from your search. Ensure that you're listing out competition who are really leaders in that space, who have a good market share in that space, right? And again, the same point, the solution that you're building, the competition, the problem statement, all of them have to be consistent. So if you're talking about a very, very specific problem statement, then the competition details should also be specific to that, right? And that's about it. In the solution, you would obviously write some USP which is in comparison to your competition. Now, in terms of choice of technology, what has been observed is that people have gone to the extent of writing programming language, for example, React or Node.js, or they have gone to the extent of writing the specific name of the algorithm that they are going to use in their AI, or a specific blockchain protocol that they are going to use. I think at this point of time, that can be avoided. What is expected is a high level architecture or block diagram of what are the components. So you may want to say, I need a front end which works on mobile for accessing this information. I may need a web server or an application server for processing this information and a database for storing it. I may also need a AI algorithm for extracting this information or a AI algorithm for generating this information, right? This is the level at which the block diagram is expected at this point of time. As a next step, you will probably do analysis that if you need an algorithm to do a specific thing, then what are the options and which algorithm is better suited. But that's for a later day when you do your design work, when you do your detailed architecture related discussion. At this point of time for ideation, I don't think we need to jump to the specific programming language or specific algorithm because that has to be analyzed. You will have to analyze that. Another important observation has been the fact that people have added too many technologies in their solution. So people have added blockchain, they have added AI in some cases, there is AI, cloud, and all mobile and all kinds of applications. I think be wary of that for two reasons. One, when you're building a solution, you're not going to, it's not going to be feasible for you to add all these technologies in one. Second, you also have the limitation in terms of time. So do not try to overcome it. Do not try to add too many technologies. As a principle, ensure that there's only one technology for your solution. So focus on that technology, right? I think this is what I wanted to share with all of you. If you can apply this and resubmit all your decks, that will be great. All the best and thank you.